That's not an order to you. That's a reminder to me. It seems like the older I get, the harder it is to get motivated, and sometimes I need a reminder to get off my ass. I'm Paul Deeds, and sometimes I just don't feel like it. It's something of a dichotomy, if that's the right word, that as I get older, my motivation for physical activity is decreasing while the necessity for it is increasing. It's like the old adage about emergency brakes on cars, use it or lose it. The less I do, the less I'm able to do. And the less I'm able to do, the harder it is to get motivated to do it. If that makes sense. I know it's a downward cycle and I have to fight it. I struggle to fight it. I struggle to stay motivated to stay active. I've always been a morning person. I've always been one that's out of bed in a hurry. I don't laze around waking up, jump out of bed, and I'm ready to greet the day in pretty short order. Lately, it's a little different. I crawl out of bed, hanging onto the bedpost, trying not to fall down. Okay, maybe it's not quite that bad, but that's the way it feels. Once in a while, somebody will tell me that I'm pretty spry for my age, for being 75. And my usual response is, you ought to see me getting out of bed in the morning. My wife and I always start the day with coffee after getting out of bed. We usually sit around, talk, solve the world's problems over our 2 cups, and then get on with our day. And after coffee, our day usually starts with a 2-mile walk. We try to do that every day. We've been doing it for a long time, and sometimes it's not easy to get started. Some days the motivation is lower than other days. And if for some reason we don't get any other exercise during the day, at least we have the 2 miles in the morning under our belts. We live in southern Appalachia in the foothills, the mountains, depending on how you look at it, I suppose. So the walk in the morning is anything but flat. We have 4 different routes that we walk, and some are more difficult than others. But we do it every day. And also we pick up trash on our walk, so there's some bending and stretching involved as well. And we seldom come back empty-handed. There's always something to pick up. When I was younger, it seemed like the more I did something, the easier it got. The better you get at it and the easier it gets. But there comes a time when the more you do something, the more tired you get. And that's where I'm at right now. Things aren't getting any easier. It used to be that some days were easier than others, and it's gotten to the point where some days are harder than others. There aren't any easy days anymore, at least as far as the walk and the physical exertion goes. I was never a sports-minded person, even as a kid. I never followed any sports. I never played any sports. I still don't. I still don't follow any sports. I'm not a gym guy. I don't like going to the gym. I don't like formal exercise. My physical activity comes from other things, from day-to-day living type things. I really like the outdoors. My happy place for a long time has been splitting wood. Sounds crazy, I know. When I lived in the UP, I could spend the whole day cutting wood and just be happy as a clam. Well, that's not the case anymore. Fortunately, I don't have to split wood for cooking and heating now, but we do have a fireplace and a fire pit. So I'm able to split a little wood around the house, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that. Where I used to spend hours doing it, now if I spend an hour or 2, that's sufficient. But I'm happy to be able to do that. I'm happy to be able to do some of that, so I still get my enjoyment from there. I'm fortunate to be a pretty healthy person overall, and I attribute a great deal of that to being physically active, staying physically active. Maybe not as much as I once was, but as much as I can do now. I'm convinced that the two go hand in hand. I also eat pretty pretty healthy. Kathy's a really good cook, so that's easier. That makes it more fun. We eat a lot of different things. We don't eat a great deal of meat. We're chicken and fish people. My downfall is in the evenings when I'm settling down from the day. Like I said earlier, I'm a morning person, so after dinner, that's my downtime. That's when I start settling in, if you will. And my downfall is snacking. I love snacking. I like sweets. I like cookies. I like salty, crunchy. We read a lot. In the evenings, we'll read. And while I'm reading, I like to be doing this. Now, fortunately, I count calories. So fortunately, when I'm active during the day, that burns some calories. So I'm able to get off track a little bit in the evenings with the ice cream and the cookies and whatnot. And we do have pizza night every Saturday night. We make homemade pizza. I make the dough and we assemble it together. And that's the only day of the week, really, that we sit down in front of the television. We have a television. It's in a separate room, so we don't have it on very much, except, like I say, except on Saturdays where we'll watch a movie or YouTube or something like that. We don't have cable or satellite or network TV. Actually, I haven't had network television since 1995 when I made a lifestyle change and moved to the UP in Michigan. But that's a whole nother video, which I'll probably do at some point. But anyway, we don't have the television on, sitting in front of it. Like I said, we read a lot in the evenings. I hope I'm not giving the impression that staying physically active is an easy task. It's not. It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle. And I don't always stay on track with it. Some days I get pretty far off track, in fact. So what I usually do is beat myself up a little bit and then get back on track the next day or the day after. It's not always easy getting back on track once you get off. Most of the time I'm successful in a day or two. I don't usually have a hard time getting back on track. Sometimes it takes a couple of beatings, but I manage to get there. The thing is, I want to be able to do as long as I can because I know the day is coming when I won't be able to. That's just the way it works. And also the doing changes. You might do some of the same things, but you do them differently. I do things slower than I used to. I do things less than I used to. I really enjoy walking in the woods. I used to just go out and wander around. When I lived in Michigan, it was in what they call the Huron Mountains. If you can think about Michigan having mountains, it all depends on your perspective, I guess. But the terrain was hilly, and I would just go out and walk the property and just wander around. Where I'm living in southern Appalachia now, not too far from the Appalachian Trail, actually. The hiking can be very difficult. We still like to walk in the woods, but we have to select our trails more carefully. The easy to moderate trails are about our limit. The strenuous trails just can't do anymore. It's a little frustrating. It can be depressing if you let it, that you can't participate in some of those things that you really used to enjoy. You just have to be thankful. I have to be thankful for what I still can do and do that. Do what I can do. I got involved in geocaching when that first became popular. And some of the caches are hidden in interesting places. Now, when we go, we don't go as often as we used to, but when I go now, I have to be a little bit more selective of which caches I try and find, because some of them are in places that I can't negotiate anymore. And like I say, if you let it get depressing, it can. It's a struggle sometimes not to let it get you down, not to be frustrated by it, just to enjoy it for what you can still do. But I want to do what I can for as long as I can. I don't spend too much time bemoaning the difference between what I once did and what I can do now. I mostly accept the fact that I can't do everything that I used to do. So I try real hard to enjoy what I can do. And mostly I'm successful, not always. And if I can stay thankful in the process, I try to do that too. I know it's frustrating, I know it's discouraging, but we got to keep on keeping on, keep on trucking, right? If you're struggling with staying active, I feel you. The older we get, the harder it is. But, you know, we've come this far, and if we can keep moving forward and try to remember, our steps might be getting shorter, but at least we're still stepping. Peace and joy. Oh, one more thing. For anyone that was wondering, no, I did not get my hair cut. It was doing some weird things on the last video I made, and it was a little bit distracting, so I tied it back out of the way. I do that sometimes. See you later.